Mike Hurst is with us, former U.S. Attorney and current GOP State Chairman. Good morning. How are you doing, Mike? Everything okay? Did you make the trip all right?
Hey, Paul. Good morning. It's great to be here. Yep. Up here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, ready to nominate Donald Trump to be the Republican candidate for president.
Before we get started, what's the schedule here? I mean, meetings prior to that time, and what time will Donald Trump come into the building?
We do. We have a lot of meetings today. We have some breakfasts this morning with a number of our congressional delegations, the delegates and the alternates from Mississippi. The session of the Republican National Convention starts around 12:45 today. Mm-hmm. This is when probably a lot of your audience has seen the roll call. So Mississippi, Governor Tate Reeves will announce the great state of Mississippi has 40 delegates to nominate Donald J. Trump for president.
Well, first, after we clear that, just your thoughts on yesterday when you were watching this and being that you've been in the business too, some of your thoughts on here, because there are so many questions. I mean, anything we have that's a historic thing in the pages of history being written has to come with a lot of mysteries, and this one has a lot of mysteries.
It's it was surreal when I first heard about it. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a terrible joke. But as we start seeing the video footage, as we start seeing what happened, as we start hearing about the things that kind of broke down in terms of security, it's kind of unbelievable that in the modern day of what we've witnessed, the security, the technology, everything that we have, that a 20-year-old, deranged individual could get that close to the president, the candidate for president, and almost take him out. It was sad.
When you look at this, I mean, we got to, and the other oddity on this one, Mike, is that you really actually have a 20-year-old who was kicked out of the gun club because he was just such a bad, terrible shot. Then, from what we've heard, when some of those passerbys alerted, hey, there's a guy up there with a gun. Two officers apparently approached the building and tried to get up. There was no way for them to get up, so one of the officers climbed up on the shoulder of the other officer. Once he was able to get up and look over the roof and see the guy, apparently Crooks saw him, turned around, pointed his AR-15 at him. That startled the guy. He kind of ducked, and when he did that, he fell off the shoulder. Then, from what I gather, that's when Crooks said, okay, I've been found out here. I got to go off and pull the shot off. So under duress, knowing that he's had limited time, he pulls a shot off from, I've heard different figures here, but let's just say about 150 yards. And almost within a quarter of an inch or even a tenth of an inch, almost made that shot.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And if you've seen some of the video online, a number of the bystanders, the audience, were pointing at the man where they were seeing him crawl on top of the roof of that warehouse. And for whatever reason, you have to know that the Secret Service snipers had him in their bullseye. And I guess we will not know until investigations are done as to why he was not taken out before he was able to take off a few shots at the president and let's not forget, kill an individual in the audience.
Well, beyond that one, too, the other question that is just as powerful to me is because you have one person who is deemed the director of all of this. Everything is feeding in. He's directing all of the Secret Service guys, and I'm not sure if it's he or she, whoever it happened to be. But you've got one person who's the coordinator of all these things. Go here, go there, do this, do that. Why weren't the Secret Service agents on the stage who were nearby the president? Why weren't they alerted to this? Because if they saw the guy, I would think that would be enough to say, all right, let's get the president off the stage immediately, because or have him duck down. We did learn something that the banners on the bottom of that thing around the podium itself are bulletproof. So that's one of the reasons you duck down, because that stuff is bulletproof there. Right.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, I've obviously worked with a lot of Secret Service agents. They are incredible men and women. I mean, think about it. Anyone who's, volunteers for a job where they are agreeing to sacrifice their life for a stranger in service to their country is incredible. But you're right. There should have been more coordination between the state law enforcement, the local law enforcement, and the federal law enforcement in this instance. And that way, if you would have had, two sheriff's deputies or two local police officers who saw that individual on the roof, they could have immediately gotten that to the Secret Service, and he could have been neutralized before he even attempted anything at the president.
Somewhere they're going to have to answer this question: why wasn't the site survey done a better job? When you have line of sight from a rooftop, only 150 yards away, and there's nobody there. As a matter of fact, even some trees. There were some big trees.
Right.
I would think normally the Secret Service would probably even have that staked out, or at least somebody over there. And here's the other thing, because the head of the Secret Service said we did everything, all of the technology, et cetera, et cetera. No, they didn't do all the technology. Number one, there was not even a $200 drone put up anywhere.
Right. I mean, just think about how cheap drones are. The technology is absolutely incredible. They could have had drones all around that perimeter. But, I mean, here's the deal. We can second-guess it all day, and there will be a lot of investigations into this security breach. But, the thing that just burned me up yesterday was, Congressman Benny Thompson's staffer who posted on Facebook that the assassin should get some shooting lessons so he doesn't miss next time. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. It's unacceptable. We called upon in the Mississippi Republican Party, we called upon Congressman Thompson to fire her, and he did, but that's not enough. He is still trying to take Secret Service protection away from Donald Trump. He led the politically biased January 6th commission, and now he has staffers like this. He hasn't done anything for the 2nd Congressional District in Mississippi in the last 30 years. He needs to go, Paul. Benny Thompson needs to resign.
I agree with the same thing that RFK, with his family history and everything else. I can't believe that they've denied of Secret Service protection to him. It blows my mind.
And he's had 2 or 3 break-ins at his home while he's been running for president as well. But this is the way the Biden administration approaches it. It does not give the resources to Trump's Secret Service detail. I've talked to former Secret Service agents that I know, and they know firsthand that the Trump administration has asked for more resources with their Secret Service detail and have been denied.
Why? Is it because of cost? Because they said they don't have the appropriation? What's the reason for that?
Well, Paul, they're not going to give a reason. Come on. It's a political opponent. This is the same administration that used an individual with the United States Department of Justice to go help a local district attorney prosecute President Trump. I mean, at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to neutralize him any way possible. And they are trying to do it through slander. They're trying to do it through prosecutions. They're trying to do it from, regulating, resources. It's absolutely incredible what this administration has done just to retain power.
I want to ask you about the vice presidential pick and some other things. But first of all, together, just listen, because this keys right into what we're talking about. And here's a guy who was a former Secret Service agent who protected presidents in the past and put his life in front of theirs, and it's Dan Bongino.
The Secret Service PR, Anthony Guglielmi, has to be very careful about what they put out. He says in his X post, and you can read it yourself, you don't need to hear it from me, that they deployed these extra resources and technology. Okay, well, which ones? You're telling me the best technology you have was deployed and you missed a shooter 130 yards? Say it was 200 yards. The Secret Service CS team, and I'm not sure those two guys are Secret Service. But when we go to New York sometimes with high-level protectees, we'll use NYPD ESU counter sniper. So I'm not really sure either way, they'd still be briefed in. The question we have to ask is, if that's the best technology we have, and we had a CS team up there with a shooter that, we're trained out to 1,000 yards in the Secret Service with the counter sniper team. How did they miss someone at most, 1/5 of the way there? It doesn't make any sense. And even worse, it's broad daylight on a white roof. So, again, open questions here. Was there forward-looking infrared deployed? Was there aerial support, drones, helicopters? Something happened too. If you go back and listen to the audio, when Donald Trump, after this tragic thing happens, you'll see the Secret Service agents. And by the way, I know some of those guys personally. It takes a lot to run into bullets, divorcing the security failure. So at least they did that part, correctly, and they knew what they were doing after the security absolutely failed. But you're going to hear something if you listen closely. The guy mentions Hawkeye on the scene. He's talking about, that stands for Counter Assault Team. That's a Secret Service Special Weapons Team. That the bunting around the front of the stage is probably armor. Donald Trump knew to duck. He saved his own life.
There you go. More coming up with Mike Hurst, former U.S. Attorney and current GOP Chairman, live from Milwaukee. Coming up next. We are back with Mike Hurst, GOP Chairman. Mike, you remember Ronnie Jackson, Congressman Jackson, who was previously Trump's physician and chief White House medical advisor? Here's a little bit of an oddity. He revealed in the extensive show prep here, I found this article, that his nephew was at the rally, and he was nicked by the would-be assassin's bullet during the campaign event. So Ronnie Jackson released that late yesterday. So, first of all, are we going to get all 40 votes for Donald Trump when the votes for Mississippi counted?
We are.
And who do you think right now, just off the top of your head, who do you think is leading in the possibility to be picked as vice president? Candidate, I should say.
Maybe I need to go to the casino, Paul. I don't know.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think anybody
who
knows.
I think is probably leading is probably Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, if I were to guess.
I think so, too.
And being here in Milwaukee, there is a lot of support for both North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum and Florida Senator Marco Rubio. So it's a tight three-way horse race, if you will.
Yeah, but with this guy being such a promoter, could there be a dark horse nobody's thinking about?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, the only person probably in the world that knows who the vice president is going to be is Donald J. Trump.
I'm not even sure if Melania knows, to be honest with you. But as far as marketing, it wouldn't surprise me because that's the way he likes to shock people, and who knows. Now, we have no idea when it's going to be revealed either, do we?
We don't know when it's going to be revealed, but we do know that the vice presidential candidate will be speaking here at the forum Wednesday night. So we do know that. And we do know that Donald J. Trump Jr. will be introducing the vice president. So that's why I tend to believe that it probably is Senator Vance, because Trump Jr. and Vance are very close.
Well, and the other thing too, you've got to give somebody a little bit of time to write, get over the appointment and let them know that they're the ones. Plus the fact to write the freaking speech.
Well, I could see President Trump saying, "You three guys, write your speeches and be ready."
Yeah, that's very, very true. So, anything about Milwaukee that that you want to mention? If you haven't been there that long, but I know you've been there before, so anything about Milwaukee that would... You've never been there before?
I've actually been here since Tuesday.
Tuesday of last week?
National Committee.
Yeah.
Yes, last week. The Republican National Committee had its summer meeting last week leading up to the convention, and as chairman of the Republican Party in Mississippi. Let me tell you, folks up here are fired up, Paul. They are ready to get to work, and this was even before the terrible events that happened on Saturday. Right now, the energy is just, it's palpable. I mean, people, I'm getting chills just talking about it because people are so excited about the convention. They're excited about the next 4 months to get on the ground and get to work, and they're excited about November 5th because we're going to take back the White House.
Mike, there's another element to this that people are not talking about, but how does this affect Joe Biden now? Especially the guy in his state. I was talking to my wife about this, and he says, it's almost like he has trouble now riding a bicycle because of what's happened in his attack and him trying to gauge his attack and kind of, make sure he doesn't say the wrong thing because now it's going to be out of line because of the assassination attempt. Now we're taking him from a bicycle to a unicycle. So how is he going to do this? You think this will have an effect on him?
Yeah, I'm sure it will. And look, I will tell you, just from a human being perspective, Paul, it is incredibly sad and heartbreaking to see what's happening physically and mentally to President Biden. But you're exactly right. With these unfortunate events that happened Saturday, you have to imagine the people around him are just going to be protecting President Biden even more to make sure he doesn't have a slip up. He doesn't say the wrong thing. He doesn't do the wrong thing. And frankly, what I hope we see is something similar to what we saw after 9/11, which is the country coming back together in unison a little more. And I think you see some people talking about that, but I mean, I've seen more American flags online in the last 24, 48 hours, and I've seen it a long time. So I'm hopeful that it's going to bring the country back together.
Well, I think just the day before the assassination attempt, you had the president speaking, talking about him being a threat, meaning Donald Trump, a threat to America. And again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that threat is not to America. The threat is to Donald Trump's successes being a threat to the Democrat Party. So that's basically it.
And less than a week before the assassination attempt, President Biden said we need to put Trump in a bullseye.
Yes.
I mean, this type of rhetoric, and when we called this out as Republicans, when we called the Democrats out for this type of rhetoric, they just gaslight us. And they
absolutely.
Here's the problems.
It was several years ago. So, what was it? We used somebody used a crosshair or a target or something and drew almighty hell from the media for about a full 3 months, I think. So here goes the president talking about a bullseye, and you hear nothing from them. Mike, safe trip, sir. I thank you so very much, and we'd love to check with you again. Take care.
Absolutely. Call anytime. Thank you.
Mandy's going to join us to come up at 8:05. She is also there. And, of course, JT Mitchell, 8:35. So hang